And we are live with Satu Ahlman. She is CEO at Saga Performance. We're going to talk about high performance, podcasting, traveling, CEOship, everything in between. The podcast brought to you by podper.com. If you want to start, scale, or be invited to a podcast or even find sponsors, that's my podcasting company. Quite good at outreach, kind of a podcasting and cold email hybrid company. Podper.com to get great guests like Satu, to get insights, to grow your community, grow your subscribers, and even get leads. Podper.com. Satu, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays?
Thank you, Charles. It's a pleasure to be here. What am I up to nowadays? I help most of the times growth companies in the field of IT, tech, finance, professional services to really create healthy, high-performing cultures and organizations. And I also help C-level executives to get the best out of themselves in a healthy way. A lot of it is has to do with testing, but also behavior focus, mindset focus. And I help a handful of elite athletes, some of them in the CrossFit scene, where I can help them to really boost their mental game. And I've told you before, I love CrossFit myself. So that's how I sort of ended up working with them as well. But my main focus is corporates and C-level executives.
CrossFit, I think, would be like the de facto sport for high performance execs and CEOs. If it wouldn't for triathlon and Ironmans, I think that this is where they've spent their energy in the last couple of years. Some of them I've seen MMA, the most crazy ones.
Wow.
And yeah, CrossFit is so great because just skyrockets your heart and you will be overwhelmed quite quickly, because the workouts, they're quite intense and they're really made to push you to your limits. And it's this communal environment in which you're in the pain cave with like 30 other people, strangers that become friends. I've studied CrossFit as a company and like how they build this empire, and it's quite fascinating. What do you like about CrossFit specifically?
The challenge. I think it's the mental and the physical challenge. It's not just the heart rate that goes up, but you really have to stay in control of your mental game. You got to plan, you got to focus, you got to get the best out of yourself in that very moment, which is usually, if you talk about the WODs, the workouts of the day, it's a very short moment. So it could be just 10 minutes where you have to give it all. But then again, I also love CrossFit because it's not just that. It's also about understanding more about your body, how it functions. You get to do a lot of cool stuff like handstand push-ups, and really do something as an adult, which things like I have never done before in my life, and weightlifting as well. And the connection of building strength and challenging yourself physically, the connections to your brain, how it boosts the BDNF and everything. And yeah, I love to do that because I know that that's going to be helping me when I grow up or get older, so to speak.
What's funny is that like people think, 10 minutes is so short, but when you understand that your body can get overwhelmed in probably 25 seconds, you may understand that 10 minutes may become torture.
Yes, totally.
Because the weight and the explosiveness, I just love that, and gonna do more of it in preparation to my Spartan Ultra. Tell me about your background, because I see that you started here. Well, your first CEO role was in management event studio, and you were responsible for a 2 to 3 million B2B event marketing business in Finland. So tell me about that one.
Yeah, actually, before that, I had only been working as a consultant and a management consultant, helping executives and leadership teams to get the best out of themselves. But then I had this feeling that I want to test myself. I really want to get the opportunity to see, can I put these things that I teach others into practice? And this was a perfect opportunity. It wasn't too big, but it was a pure challenge because it wasn't going well for the company. And what we did, we managed to do a full business and cultural turnaround within 2.5 years or 2 years of time. And I'm still very proud of it. I'm proud of my team, how we managed that. And for me to put myself into the test, first time CEO, it was awesome. And I loved it. I loved every single second of it. And of course, because it was a success, that makes it easier, but it wasn't easy. I'm not saying that. It was really challenging to figure out, how do we save money? How do we save the people who are on board? How do we change some of the people? How do we get new ones? How do we build a culture that is high performing, yet stable in a way that people want to stay and people want to perform and always give their best and all that? So it was a cool journey. Yeah, I would say.
And that's when also you began traveling the world. Why did you begin traveling the world, and did you reach your objectives? What insights did you get from traveling so much?
Actually, I started traveling already before that, in my first consultancy role. That company sent me everywhere. I was traveling every week all the time. So basically, I came back home on a Friday evening, just doing my laundry during the weekend and trying to catch up with some friends, and then traveling again on Sunday. And I could be somewhere in one night or 2 days and then traveling again. So it became very draining and hectic, but I loved it during that period of time because it taught me so much. That wasn't the first time though when I was living abroad. So I think I moved abroad when I was 23-ish, to the Middle East. And that's a long story, but that was because at that time, my boyfriend got a job there in Abu Dhabi, of all places, and I wanted to see the world, so I went with him. But I think that opened the door for me, like I was open to travel. And when I got the job where I could travel, obviously I wanted to do that because I thought, okay, I can see all these cultures, I can see different types of companies, global companies, big, large, and really learn everything that I can. But yeah, after 4 years, I also felt like, okay, enough traveling. So I've been traveling much less. I still travel quite a lot. So compared to many others who just sit at the office, obviously it's more, but I'm not traveling every week all the time.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, Dubai, I have my sights on it to potentially register a business there. It's quite
Ah,
attractive, the tax
yes.
situation as well there. And they have somewhat of an ecosystem developing. It's very safe and obviously luxurious. So that
Yeah.
could be sort of cool. Just the time zone that's not ideal. Want to
No.
learn more about Saga.
Yeah.
You started that almost 5 years ago. Why did
Mhm.
you started it? And I mean, you've coached so many people. Like when we
Yeah.
started, we said like 1,500. That's 150 per year, if it's
Yeah.
like spread throughout the decade. So like that's all, folks. What are you doing at Saga? How are you different, and what are your goals with this company?
Yeah, good. Great questions. I started Saga before because I really felt like I want to continue developing people and organizations, but in my terms, on my terms. And I knew that I want to combine or create a more holistic or systems approach to looking at performance, both for individuals and organizations, and really create these healthy, high performing cultures. So I quit my job back at I was working at Alumni, which is a management consulting company, an executive search company. And I just wanted to see, how will I manage? I knew that I already had my own business back in Dubai, but that was more like a test run. And this was the real thing. And I thought like, okay, now I'm really going to create something that is not available on the market yet. And I still would say that, yes, there are a lot of companies focusing on culture, leadership, and performance, but I haven't found a company who is doing it in the same way as we are. And what I mean with that, combining data tracking, analysis, and performance and behavior change in a systemic approach, with a systemic approach. So I currently work with leadership teams, executive teams, C-level executives, mainly who are in growth companies, in tech, finance, IT, professional services, who are in the state that they are going really fast forward and they want to go fast forward. A lot of good things are oftentimes happening, but they are lacking something. They probably lack a structure for their organization. They are lacking a specific culture. They haven't really opened up. What is the culture that we want to have? What is the culture that supports our strategy? They might even lack the strategy, like actually written out. And we come in with my partners, and we start analyzing the situation, whether it is analyzing the culture, the temperature, or analyzing the leadership, the behaviors, the attitudes, or the stress levels, the resilience of the organization or the executive teams or the individuals. Then we start, after assessing, we start developing. We start one-on-one support or team support to really focus on how does each individual, the CEO, the CFO, the CIO, how do they get the best out of themselves? And then together, how do they get the best out of the organization so that people are not burning out, not leaving, as long as there are people who we want to keep. And we are growing in the pace that is sustainable. It's working for us. It's working for them, I mean, the client company, because sometimes it just goes too fast and then bad things start happening. So that's something that Saga Performance obviously wants to sort of help the clients manage the fast pace. And the real vision and the mission that I'm on is redefining what high performance means for you and for organizations. Because I think high performance as a concept has taken a wrong turn at some point, maybe 15 years ago already. It became too trendy about talking about high performance, like grind, do, perform, action, results. And everyone forgot about breathe, take breaks, balance, take care of yourself, lead yourself. How are you going to take control of your time, manage your performance, and all those things?
Right. And feel, if we use a training or CrossFit or weightlifting analogy, take some of us, we carry like 1,000 pounds, from day one. Obviously, we're gonna fall down, and we're probably gonna hurt ourselves, especially if we don't have the muscle mass, which is the internal system, the brain and how you handle stress and all the software in there. So I think, many points that you're alluding to, looking at your posts here, is doing it progressively and growing rather than going from 0 to 100 on day one. Because we all need adaptation, right? And adaptation is very hard for high performers. It's sort of second nature. But still, I feel we need to add all of these softwares to the brain, which might interact with one another and make your growth and your adaptation incredibly easier. It's just that sometimes we take this charge and we have very basic softwares, and hence we get crushed by it. Even if we try to take this elephant, and eat it in a year, well, it could be eaten, let's say, in 30 days if you add the right pieces of software in there. What would be these pieces of software that we can add to just eat that elephant faster as CEOs?
Well, actually, I gotta say something that is not the answer to your question first, because I feel that a lot of people think and misuse the concept of grit and willpower, and they think that that's the way to go from A to B fastest, and that I have to show that I have all the willpower that it takes for me to go and eat the lion or the elephant or run the mile as fast as I can. But it's not about, and that's where the systems approach come in. There are so many other pieces of the puzzle that you need to take care of so that you can actually be efficient and productive in the amount of time that you have. And those could be everything from taking care of your sleep, taking care of your nutrition, making sure that you use micro breaks. And a lot of times when I talk about breaks and pulling the brake, people are like, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to take a 10-minute break in the middle of the day. And it's just a waste of time. I'm like, are you sure you don't have 30 seconds? And then the game starts to change, because people start to understand that I just need to give my brain a little bit of slack so it can reset, and then I can go faster. But if I try to multitask and do a zillion things at the same time, and at the same time, forgetting about breaks, forgetting about nutrition, and having 4 nights of sleep because I worked and stared at the screen until 12 a.m., it's not going to work. So a lot of the behaviors that the modern times are thinking that this is high performance is actually very counterproductive. And that's what I want to help people to understand. And that's where the data comes in. It's much easier to explain to a person like through looking at your sleep data or stress data, or doing psychometric testing in resilience to say, okay, this is how you are actually performing, and this is what we can see about your stress capacity. And then they open their eyes and they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. I actually need to do some changes. And then we do the small changes and the whole new game, or you're stepping into a whole new level of the game.
Right. I think always trying to scale with like go all the time over the course of 5 to 10 years doesn't really scale, especially if you're not adding these pieces of software on the way there. Very few of us are just capable of that and magnifying your performance. But one thing I'd advise folks also is seasons. Think of life in seasons, because me, I did the hustle thing when I started my career. 16 hours days. I still remember working in my dorm in Hong Kong a decade ago. And yet like working at EST hours, right? So I would get to sleep at 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did that for a while. After I met I was still hustling for a while in Canada. I met my wife. We started traveling the world. And then for a period of around 4 to 5 years, my lifestyle was really good, so I'd be obsessed with my health. I'd be very healthy and get like full hours of sleep and so forth. And nowadays, this year, I decided to A/B test back again the hustle phase, so I'm back in the hustle now. And I know it won't always be that way. My expectations is not that I'll crunch like 16 hours days all my life. I love what I do. That's also an important point. If you don't like what you do, the 16-hour thing is almost impossible. In my case, it's podcasting. But view life in seasons, and understand that the trajectory is not linear. It's like, it's very imperfect. What do you think about that concept?
I love that. And I do think that that's very doable and fair to say that you can work a lot if you choose to do that. What I think you need to understand is how your body works. So looking at myself, when I was young and starting my career, and when I was totally working way too much, and I was also in all the other areas of life doing way too much. But I didn't understand how that drains my body or my brain and how I'm not recovering. So I was missing a lot of understanding and information. I was just there to do more, because I thought like, oh, that's the way to get to the next level, and that's the way to make more money and all that. But now, could I do the same amount of traveling and work? Yes, exactly what you were saying, but I would know better. I would know how to optimize everything that I can to at least make my recovery better, or the best possible. And I would be eating the right things. I would be doing the right things whenever I have a break, and so on. So the self-leadership and the managing my own performance would be on a new level compared to the 25-year-old me.
Right. It's that phase also of my life. I think I'm looking at two metrics right now. So like, first, wealth is a priority right now. That's one. But two, my health is still very good. Although I can see some cerns under my eyes, but I still feel good, and I also feel happy in the process. Good. So if you're good on these metrics, then if you're in a relationship, also you need to have a spouse that's supportive of that, because you're working all the time, and if you're never there to feed the plant, give it some waters, then it might be tricky. We're already on time, so I guess we need to do another round someday.
Yes, with pleasure.
People find out more about you, Satu?
Well, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Satu Ahlman. You can also go to Instagram and follow Saga Performance Official. And you can go to the website sagaperformance.com and get in touch.
Thank you so much. So that was Charles Cormier for the CEO Wisdom podcast and Satu Ahlman. If you want to start